Hello there, and you're very welcome along to episode 27 of the Football Pod, of season 3 of the Football Pod with Paddy Anders and James O'Donoghue. We're back, lads. I'm going to blame Paddy for this. Paddy, you put the squeeze on us. You're in a good form in some cafe in Rome. You put the squeeze on us to go again this week. I think you're right, though, for the week that's in it.
Yeah, it's a big weekend. We're just saying there, obviously, the end of the group stages, the preliminary quarters, these games this weekend. We've got to get out there. Got to give the people what they want, T.
You don't regret that decision to go twice this week, do you?
I'm only off from holidays.
Just after playing.
I'm only off from holidays late last night. Yeah, I had second thoughts about it, all right, but no.
There's no Peroni this morning.
No, it's a glass of Baraka here beside me instead. Very, very different approach from only 2 days ago, but we'll fight through it. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we got a glass of complimentary port wine in the hotel in Porto.
Oh, very nice.
Not actually a plug. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if you boys have ever tried your port wine, but I'm in Porto at the minute, going to a wedding. A good friend of mine's down in just beyond Lisbon tomorrow. We're getting the train down later on. Have you ever been to Porto?
No, it's supposed to be class though, isn't it?
No, done Lisbon, not Porto.
Beautiful, lads, but Jesus Christ, it's all hills. It is all hills. It's a lovely walk down the riverfront last night, and a struggle getting back up the hill last night. But we got
the glutes are on fire.
Absolutely. It's been a busy week, James. We kind of bore the brunt of the work last week. Paddy hopped on for 20 minutes. We kind of did the other half an hour. We kind of covered you a few weeks ago when you were away in Vegas. Myself and Paddy did the same thing. Paddy, it allowed James to be in the spotlight this week. And the spotlight shone on him after his take on the Ryan O'Donoghue, Sean Kelly incident. I thought it was quite refreshing. You weren't jumping on the bandwagon, James. You give your perspective as a inter-county footballer who yourself was targeted at times, you might say. How have you found the heat since then?
It's been alright, but there's some very sensitive people out there. Some people want inter-county players just to have an all tickle competition on the field, and not touch each other physically at all. So I think that incident, fair enough, he gave him a little bit of a tip. Was it a red card offence? No. Was it worth suspending him for? No. Move on. It's not that bad. Do you know what I mean? We get caught in these incidents sometimes that build them up into something they're not, because some of these fellas giving out as well are up in the stand shouting obscenities and fighting with each other up in the stand, and then a little bit of an incident on the field and they start absolutely lambasting Ryan O'Donoghue. So no, nothing in it, and delighted to call out that there was nothing in it and take the hit.
Yeah, there was a few people getting back though saying, and it's kind of.
I don't think we should go through all the comments coming.
How long is this pod going to be? Are we on here for 2 hours?
Yeah, well, Paddy, what was your take on it?
Look, I agree with you. It's not ideal. You don't like to see it, but you'd be pretty naive to think stuff like this doesn't happen across the board. I'm sure Sean Kelly doesn't overly mind himself either. When you're on the pitch, you kind of just get on with these things. I agree to a point with Jimmy that people do get very outraged at some very small things that we've seen. Look at how many scandals have there been this year in the GA already. People just love to get worked up about it. It does happen. That is the reality of it. Particularly senior inter-county matches, there is the dark arts is the universal phrase to cover all that type of stuff. But
there's so much on the line for these fellas, isn't there? A lot of them would do anything. They would. Do you remember Johnny Giles said before, you have to, was it kill your granny or something like that? That was a term he used. These fellas would do anything just to get another round, to get another.
Yeah, I do agree. You don't want to see it, Jimmy.
You don't, but it's not.
But the reality is, we're in the real world.
But this wasn't one of the worst. This wasn't a gouge, or it wasn't a headbutt, or it wasn't a stamp. It was a little tip with the
If that happened, you would have been on the deck for about 20 minutes. If that happened,
there would have been a stretcher and an ambulance.
Medic!
15-minute break in play.
No, so as Ryan O'Donoghue's not going to be suspended for the Dublin game at the weekend, we might try and get that going, will we?
That's not happening. Do you know what? I'm struggling looking through my Twitter here trying to find it, James. But somebody accused you of being a diver. That's what that was their response to it. Yeah. They turned around and said, "Never mind, James O'Donoghue." And I tried to search James O'Donoghue dive. Did
Twitter. That person have a name on Twitter?
I can't remember. I can't find them.
It was Anfield 1974. Stevie Gerrard. It was if you're going to have a pop, put your name in it.
That's fair. I think that's a very fair point. But I did go back to the game. I did go back to the game that he referenced. It was the 2015 Munster final, Kerry against Cork.
Yes, Stonewall Penno.
50th minute. Donaghy breaks the ball. You're going to the edge of the box, and Mark Collins and yourself are going for the ball. Collins has his hand in the ball. You put your paw in, and somehow you get shot from the crowd, and it's a penalty.
Who was the ref?
I didn't. I wasn't actually. That was probably not soft penalty, but I didn't look for it. I just grabbed the ball, and my momentum took me into a tumble.
Okay.
I love this. Engineering a foul is how that's the phrase for this.
You did speak in the media a few weeks later, and you said you probably wouldn't have given a penalty.
Oh, honestly.
Yeah, you see, I should never have done interviews back then because I had a thing called verbal diarrhea. I could have said anything, but looking back,
do still have that, Jimmy.
Looking back, I remember that I was kind of surprised I got a penalty, but it wasn't a dive. It was like you're allowed to fall over as well.
I know it was a contentious decision. Would I have given a penalty? I'm not sure. There was a coming together and the referee had a decision to make. It was very 50-50. One team can be lucky and the other unlucky there. Either way, it was always going to be a tough call.
What
And it was a great penalty. So look, I think we should
well
concentrate on the penalty.
And that's fair. And look, I just went looking for the comment there. And it's quite interesting when you put in James O'Donoghue dive into Twitter search, quite a few things come up.
Tommy, it's 8:30 in the morning now. I don't know, am I ready for this conversation?
Hill 16 boy spelled like the Celtic spelling of it. If James O'Donoghue didn't dive so much, he probably wouldn't get injured. This is a bit strange though. Wolf. So you're the wolf, Paddy. I don't know where that came from.
That's one of my burner.
That's his second Twitter account.
That's one of my burner accounts there. Yeah.
Kieran Doyle actually tweeted Des Cahill. Will the usual media brown-nosing of all things Kerry prevent condemnation of James O'Donoghue's dive in the opening minute? And then Paul...
Opening minute?
When is this
When
from?
was that?
Is this like 10 years ago?
2015, yeah.
Jeez.
And then Paul, in August 2014, bit of an Ashley Young overreacted dive there from James O'Donoghue.
Right.
What is this?
Did you have a late night last night, Tom? What?
Where are we going with this? This is a sinister start to the family. Bringing up tweets from 9 years ago. From some bloke we don't even know.
What's the date on them?
They're 2015, 2014. At the
What
peak of
month?
their career. August, all in August 2014 and 15.
This was on. He was on Blazing the Trail.
August
the Player of the
15.
Year, like.
No.
You were just about to get schooled by us in the All-Ireland final. That's the next
We'll leave the
thing.
Cork one.
15. Yeah. No, 15. That's nonsense. Nonsense. I actually went around the keeper in 15 against Kildare and slipped and dislocated my shoulder. Was that that was a dive as well?
I don't know.
Look, he's
I'm not
rattled
going
now.
there.
He's rattled now. Look at this.
I can't even remember some of those, but those fellas, are all their names on them? They're not.
Two.
What was the first one? Something boy.
Hill
Celtic
16
fan.
boy.
Yeah.
Hill 16
Come
boy.
on.
That's my burner account.
They should be blocked.
It actually could be Paddy's burner account.
Right, so
Yeah,
I'm
look,
going to send one out here now. Anyway,
we don't want to relitigate it. We just want to clear up a few things in the football. Paddy, we might be coming back to you on something a little later as well. There's a couple of questions in on something that happened with a Mayo Dublin game a couple of years ago. So we're not going to let sleeping dogs lie. This weekend we have got a savage weekend of quarterfinals. It is all starting on Saturday with Kerry-Tyrone in Croke Park, and a little later that afternoon we've got Armagh-Monaghan. On Sunday we have got Derry-Cork and then Dublin-Mayo. Paddy, can I start with you on Kerry-Tyrone?
yeah.
How do you feel about this game? It was the first ride of the hat
How
on Monday
do I
morning.
feel about it? It's I'm very excited for all these games this weekend. I have to say, genuinely, they are very difficult to call. And the reason being, again, we've said this before, not because there's outstanding teams. I just think every team has got question marks over them. You could seriously say, okay, you'd still maybe have Kerry and Dublin slightly ahead of the pack, but there's still massive question marks about, okay, Kerry were a bit better against a really poor Louth team, but you're still worried defensively, how are they going to try and shackle McCurry and Canavan again? That's a question mark for them. They lost this game in the All-Ireland semi-final 2 years ago. Tyrone have been so poor in so many big games this year, but then last weekend they probably saved their best performance of the season to go and beat Donegal convincingly up in Ballybuffet. So you just don't know what you're going to get from all the teams. And it's the same. I'd say that, look, the two marquee games are obviously the game on Saturday, Tyrone and Kerry, and Dublin-Mayo on Sunday. And it's very similar in that one as well. It's very difficult to call. You wonder what Kerry are going to set up like, who are their matchups going to be, particularly in that defence. And what is Tyrone's plan to try and shackle Clifford and Sean O'Shea? Do they go with Hampsey and Sean O'Shea, Ronan McNamee again from that a couple of years ago? Like Clifford, if Clifford doesn't go off injured that day, Kerry probably win that and win the All-Ireland. So there's so many nuances to this game. I still think Kerry will win this game, but I'm not overly confident in that call. Like what's the reaction in Kerry, Jimmy? Is it? It's not the best draw for Kerry, like, is it?
Worst draw. Well, it depends where you're coming at it from, but in terms of your chances of winning, I think it's the worst draw. Like, everyone down here always has serious respect for Tyrone and their supporters. Kerry and Tyrone supporters, actually, I think there's an element of respect there between the two of them. But, like, if you look at Tyrone have fallen upon this full forward line. That's probably going to cause Kerry some serious problems. But I think that the Kerry supporters know that Tyrone's defence isn't what it used to be. You'd always associate Tyrone with keeping you down to 11, 12 points. But just looking at their results here, from this year, they conceded 217 against Monaghan, 16 against Galway, 18 against Westmeath. Do you know, like they're kind of conceding. So if Kerry can get it right up front, you'd hope that they can keep it tight enough at the back. But that, as I was saying to Tommy on Monday night, it's all about Kerry's full back line. If Kerry's full back line perform and keep the two Canavans and McCurry quiet, you'd hope they'll have enough going forward the other way to rack up that 18 or 19 points to get them over the line. But what an unbelievable game it's going to be. I actually can't wait for it. It's going to be a savage game. But Kerry's team is going to be interesting as well. There's obviously all the rumours going around town and all this stuff at the moment. But
go on, give us one or two.
No, I couldn't give Tyrone that. Like, they're all wrong anyway. I went up to one of the games and I heard there was 3 changes, and I was telling everyone in the press box, this was change, that was a change, and none of them were a thing. And I was ashamed. I was nearly under the table for it. But you can't. The rumour mill is obviously in full flow, but I think both teams will go fairly similar to what they've had.
The interesting thing from Tyrone's perspective is, what do they do defensively? Because like I was at the Monaghan or the Westmeath game in the last round of the group stages. Really brave, push right up on Westmeath's kickouts, pushing up all over the pitch. But there was a lot of space for that Westmeath forward line, and you've got to think for Tyrone, do they go back towards maybe the more traditional style, like we say, really tight defensively? Like they are not going to afford.
I think they'll have to.
I think they have. They can't afford Clifford that type of space in front of him. No. Do they go with McNamee again to pick him up, or is Michael McKiernan? Michael McKiernan's probably too small for Clifford. Like, that's just one.
Did Hampsey pick him up in 21?
No, Hampsey was on Sean O'Shea.
Was it McNamee?
McNamee picked him up. And McNamee did all right on him. Remember, Clifford still scored 8 points. So it's just Tyrone, you would have to imagine, have some sort of plan up their sleeve to try and curb that influence up front. I think they can get at Kerry's backline. Definitely. I think they've got. Yeah, in a way, they've kind of fallen on it, but the quality, particularly Derek and McCurry, we said this, they kind of show glimpses in the Ulster Championship that first half against Monaghan, but the two of them seem to be back to their absolute peak. And not just Kerry, they will cause any team massive trouble. And you look at Kerry's midfield, where there's been question marks as well. That is where Tyrone are really, really strong with Kennedy and Kilpatrick. So, like, if we were to say Tyrone were a bit of a basket case at 2 or 3 different stages throughout the season, and you'd say if they play Kerry in the Championship, Kerry are going to steamroll them there. I still think Kerry will have too much here, but Jesus, it's a hell of a lot tighter, just based on recent form, than I would have thought.
It really is. And against Donegal, Morgan's kick out was interesting. It was like they said, right, we're into the knockout stuff now, let's really reintroduce that kick out. And Morgan went long a couple of times, and there was almost goal chances on from the presses. I think the Kerry's philosophy a lot of time is to really attack the press, doing an aggressive press on the opposition keeper. I don't think you can do that with Morgan, because he'll put it down and he will bomb it to the opposition 45 nearly.
But they've been doing that.
Do you
They've
remember-
been doing that play for years, Jimmy. It's
I know, but they kind of parked it. They parked it for the up to now. They haven't been doing it. They've got no joy off their own kick out. They've kind of been chipping it short, nice and handy. He really reintroduced that against Donegal, I thought. And Morgan has a bomb of kick outs. Remember in 2021
the final,
when Tyrone beat Kerry? No, he had an outstanding game in the final. But when they beat Kerry in the semi, just before half time, he put down a free. I'd say it was on his own 45 nearly. He pinged it over the black spot. It was an unbelievable effort.
It was right in the middle of the pitch. It was right where the ball gets thrown up.
But going in at half time, the ref blew the whistle then, and it was like, what a boost that was to stay in the game with that score.
That is a danger when you play Tyrone. They have that long kick out where they bring Kilpatrick and Kennedy out, and they're looking for a flick.
Yeah.
Donegal used to do it as well. We got caught our double team a couple of times with this. But that's the risk. Again, Kerry will know this. Jack O'Connor will know this as well.
Yeah.
How do they set up against that? Because I think it's a brilliant game, even from a neutral perspective, because you've got outstanding forward lines, full forward line of both teams, and both teams are literally going to be, how do we get the ball into that area of the pitch as fast as humanly possible? Because that's where the game's going to be won and lost. And it's the challenge. Do Tyrone kind of bring back a little bit more a little bit more kind of solid tactics around their middle third, their half back, like to try and shut down their Kerry attack. If they do that and they do it well, they have a massive chance of winning this game. And then how does Jason Foley and Tom Sullivan go? What is Paddy Clifford kind of drifting back? Is Jack Barry going to sit in front of that full forward line? Because that's an area Kerry need to address. They can't be as porous as they were against Mayo and Killarney, even times against Cork in that first half in Porky Tyrone have the forwards that will punish that. So it's
and even Loud got in a couple of times.
Yeah, Loud in the first half, and that's what I'm saying. Kerry were a bit better. They're obviously sharper up front and they racked up a big score. But if you were looking at that, and Jack O'Connor even referenced himself, there's still glimpses of that Kerry defence being got at. Kerry are not as solid as they were last year when the All-Ireland. That was massive credit to them. Tyke Morley's role, etc., etc. They were really, really stingy at the back. They haven't been like that all season, but they need a big performance from that back. I'd say their back six and their midfielders to try and shut down Canavan and McCurdy. If they do that, they've got a great chance of winning the game.
Yeah. Jack O'Connor was speaking on Monday, and he said that Killian Spillane, at the moment of the squad that he's had available, is the only one who isn't around.
Huge loss as well.
Stubborn ankle issue.
He was almost guaranteed 2 scores off the bench, Killian. Do you know, it's a massive loss.
But that's an interesting point, James, because Owen McCormick in the Examiner wrote a piece on the 5 reasons why Cork football has got back on track this year, and one of them was on the bench press. And this is just in the All-Ireland series, but Cork have got 2-17 from the bench in their 3 round-robin group games and the preliminary round game. Dublin have only got 5 points off the bench. Armagh won 2 from the bench. Derry won 1 from the bench. And Kerry have got 0 scores from the bench.
In the championship?
In the All-Ireland round-robin series and the Munster final. And the Munster final.
Jesus,
that
is surprising because
2 points against Tip. They're the only 2 scores in the championship they got from their bench.
And even last year, I think it was the final that Killian and Adrian Spillane, the two of them came on and not changed the game, but definitely guided Kerry in a safer direction. So, Jesus, you need that bench. But we said it the last day, like both benches, Tyrone aren't making substitutions here. They'll bring on Frank Burns, maybe Richie Donnelly. That's it. Yeah. And Kerry are the same. They have a couple of injuries. Their panel is weakened. I don't know who Jack actually 100% trusts at the moment because they've obviously been stuttering. He'll have to trust the panel because you need legs in this game. But it's going to be interesting because Tyrone don't have any time to prepare for Kerry. So I think that if you had to say, right, we have a week to prepare for Kerry, what do? We stop David Clifford. That's going to be their week. That's going to be their week. How do we get someone on him and someone in front of him and maybe even someone else? How do we free those bodies up? I think the Myler's going to go on Paddy, and that's pretty much your quick fire deal with Kerry because there's not enough time to go into a detailed plan.
I think the bench is interesting. Like in 21, we know how strong Tyrone's depth was last year. Colin McShane comes on for Kennedy. Tiernan McCann comes in. Darragh Canavan comes in. Ben McDonald comes in. Mark Bradley comes on and scores. And Liam Rafferty was our last sub. And Kerry's subs that day. Killian Spillane in at half time. Gavin Crowley come on for Breen. Adrian Spillane was in. Jérôme O'Connor came in. Tommy Welch come off the bench. Yeah, it's like they were strong benches.
Yeah, they were. It makes some difference. Like all the successful teams, you need those crowd lifters and those player mood lifters when someone comes on, like the McMenamans or fellas like that.
Is it Jimmy? Like this is what we were touching on earlier the week in the first pod. These games are all going to go to the wire. They're so tight. Like, you could make a case. Okay, we're down to the final 8. You could probably say maybe Galway and Roscommon would fit into that at the start of the season. But like, these teams are all here on merit. The games have been so tight already, and you can just see this weekend going down. Extra time. Like
four draws.
Yeah, someone winning by a point, someone losing by a point. We said it. There's so many. The games are so tight. They hinge on like nearly individual plays. And if you can get someone coming off the bench who has some sort of X factor, has a play, just one big moment, that can win the game for you. That can win the game or lose it for you. And that your team seasons are hinging on it. And the way the draws panned out with the matchups, it is. These games are all four are so tight. You can make a case for any one of these teams to come out on top. Yeah. And I think that this game to kick off the weekend will be spectacular on Saturday afternoon.
100%.
My tip of the weekend, definitely a lucky 15, 4 draws.
4 draws.
4 draws. If you get 3 of them, you're in the money. If you get 2, you'll nearly be up. A nice €1 lucky 15. I'd say every team will be practicing penalties.
Yeah,
there's going to be a few Panenkas taken in training this week.
It's a good shout, and anyone at home who backs this off the back of what James has just said, like,
we're splitting the profit.
He's so mad. Since he's come back from Vegas, hasn't he?
Have not been good.
He's a gambling addict there since he got back from Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ring Caesar's Palace there to put the bet down for me.
He's managed to turn that Cork shout into the prediction of the year as well. So we'll come back to Cork in a couple of minutes. For the Armagh-Monaghan fans who will be coming down the M1 or whatever road they take to Croke Park, let's give them something to think about. That's going to be another really, really tight game. Monaghan have got this knack of pulling games in the fire. They saved their league campaign. They bet Tyrone in the last minute, Kildare the last day, the Derry draw, Carl O'Connell's point. Like, there's a lot to like about this Monaghan team over the last couple of weeks, but they've just been getting the job done, Paddy.
Yeah, and this is, again, what Monaghan team is going to turn up. Like, they had a terrible first half against Tyrone in the Ulster Championship. They turned it around. Ryan O'Toole's goal, one of the moments of the Championship. Then they played Derry in the Ulster semi-final, got absolutely hammered up in Healy Park. Then they make tweaks to change their setup. They changed personnel, obviously, which was a very big call by Vinnie Corey, and they nearly beat Derry then in the round robin series. And then you're thinking they'll progress here. They got a good draw in terms of getting Kildare, you would say, on the draws they could have got. And they really, really laboured to win that game. And you could easily make a case that Kildare could have won that as well. So with Monaghan, the more so than what we're saying with Tyrone, we don't know what Monaghan team is going to turn up here. What you do know, you're guaranteed from them, is there will be fire and brimstone across the board. Like he said, there's so many times already this season where you think you're writing them off and they pull something out of the bag. Carl O'Connell, another massive play the last day. It looks like the kind of McManus is just going to be kept off for a kind of an impact. That's trying to get a score from him. Conor McCarthy kind of dropping a little bit further back the pitch has kind of opened up a lot of scoring opportunities for him. So they've kind of landed on some things which have really worked for them. But you then do still worry about the consistency of their performance. And Armagh, who were really flat after losing that Ulster final. It was a really difficult loss. We said it at the time. They were so close to winning that final against Derry, and they really laboured through this group stage, but then they get a massive win on the final day, and that's Rian O'Neill be back in their squad. What Armagh do you get? I think this is a really, really difficult one to call, probably out of all 4 of the games, because the two teams have shown so much inconsistency between them. But I think if Armagh get it right and they get Rian O'Neill and he complements Mernon and Turbin inside and they have that edge, I'd be leaning towards Armagh to win this one.
Yeah. I'm the same. I think that Armagh they've kind of turned that corner. They've got that bit of luck. They were the unluckiest team in Ireland for a couple of weeks, and they had knocks and niggles, but they just seem to have that firepower back up front. You know, Campbell starting for them, chipped in with a couple of points against Galway. Turbot, Mernon, even Duffy chipped in. Grugan got 3 or 4 points. Put Rian O'Neill in there. Their scores in Armagh. And Croke Park suits them. Yeah. Croke Park is definitely a place where Armagh can come alive. And they've turned that corner. Like Monaghan, if you think back to the National League and all through the steps, like for these teams to have a chance of an All-Ireland semi-final, And God knows what can happen then. You could end up in a final here if you win this game. It's such a massive game for these fellas. And I just think that Armagh are ready to take that step. I think that they've kind of been on the cusp for a couple of years, and they've steadily progressed. I think this is the time. They'll be inside in meetings this week, and they'll really be turning the screw on each other, saying, lads, it's time now to be in that semi and take the next step. So I've always liked Armagh as a team. I love the way they play the football, and I think that this is their weekend. I'm tipping Armagh this
You
week.
just get that sense, Jimmy, that Galway win was massive. It was
what a win.
It was
What a
just
win.
so big. From the journey that team had been on, we said it, they've been close. They had unlucky in a way, you could say. They had opportunities to win massive games before, and it just didn't happen for them. And you got the sense the Ulster final was the latest one in that. The game was there to be won, and they lose it on penalties. And like I was there for the first game of the group stage against Westmeath at home. They really, really struggled in that game, and there was just a lack of energy from Armagh. And you got the sense, is their season going to peter out here? Then they lose to Tyrone, and you're thinking the writing's on the wall here for these guys. And they come in and they win a tight game. In the circumstances they won it as well. Last minute free, then a miss for Galway, miss penalty. It was just the type of little calls that weren't going their way. But a team can get massive belief out of winning that game, massive energy for winning a game like that. And again, in terms of the draws go, this isn't the worst draw they could have got.
Could have got Kerry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Monaghan could have got carried. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good draw for both teams. Both teams have fancied their chances because they know each other so well.
They will, and Monaghan will bring a lot of fight to this. They'll have a game plan. Vinnie Corey will try and kind of frustrate that Armagh attack, but I just think Armagh, I get the sense that win against Galway has nearly lifted a little bit of a weight off their shoulders. It is a massive opportunity here. A massive, massive opportunity to be an All-Ireland semi-final. And for Monaghan, we were saying they were stalwart to be relegated through the National League. For them to be in with a shot of doing this is credit to Vinnie Corey and what he's done. But I just don't think they'll have enough scores on the board against Armagh on Saturday. I think
Armagh have that little bit of experience as well, don't they?
Surely, though, Conor McCarthy isn't going to be given the run of the pitch again. Like, he's been having such an influence from wing back.
Yeah.
No, that's. You'd have to imagine that it's Armagh going to set up something like that to kind of shut him down, whether it's Jason Duffy, Jamar Hall, or someone just designated. You need to mark him and take him out. We said the maverick, Jack McCarran. We know there's talent there. We know he's an amazing shooter, but he probably struggles in the really tight confines when he's being picked up really tightly. We've seen that against Donegal. Brendan McCall kind of takes him out of the game completely. Armagh, you would imagine, will have someone set for him, probably Forker. Do they go with McManus? Do they try and give him a start in this game in Croke Park, where you might try and engineer a little bit more space from? There's a couple of calls for Monaghan to make, but you've got to think Armagh and Kerry McGeady will have a plan to. And look, at this stage of the championship, that's what it's about. If you're a key player, you are going to be targeted. That is the reality of it here, and you're playing against the top teams at the minute. And I just think Armagh have a little bit more magic up front than what Monaghan have, and I think that will be enough for them. And just that little bit of momentum and belief for beating Galway. It's, I don't want to say the pressure's off Armagh, but there's like they'll have a pep in their step from topping that group, and the manner in which they did it. And you're right, this team has been on the road for a while now with McGeady, and this is a big opportunity.
This is the one, this is the one. But like Armagh have that option from a turnover or from kind of a break and play. There's a goal in them. You know, there's a long ball, there's a fetch or a catch or a runner. There's goals in Armagh in big games. I think that with Monaghan, a lot of their scores are coming from that half back line, from O'Connell and McCarthy. Armagh are going to hone in on that. Like if Monaghan's half back line beat Armagh, then I'd be shocked, because tactically that's the way Armagh are going to have to set up. Their main attacking threat is that half back line. So they're going to set up to stop them, and I think that if they can turn over the ball and move it in Croke Park, there's space, there's going to be scores there. I just think that Armagh have the setup for Croke Park and have the skill level to rack up a decent score.
Okay, all right. There's Saturday's games, lads. We've gone through Kerry-Tyrone as well on episode 26 of the Football Pod on Tuesday, so you can have a listen back to that as well. We're going to talk about Sunday's games in a moment. You are listening to the pod with thanks to AIB, proud sponsors of the Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more. We're going to be back right after this talking about another 2 blockbuster All-Ireland quarterfinals. You're very welcome back to episode 27 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. James, I was getting a bit of stick earlier in the week. On Monday, I declared Con Kilpatrick and Brian Kennedy as the best midfield pairing in the country, and I was just sent an image of Brendan Rodgers and Conor Glass from a Derry fan on Twitter. It'd be close enough though. Like in terms of form, Kennedy and Kilpatrick are flying. Rodgers and Glass, you're talking Fenton, McCarthy. You know, they're probably the 3 big midfields at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I think those 2, the Derry and Tyrone midfields, are both outstanding. Like the leadership, the Glass and Rodgers show constantly, and they're so reliant on Rodgers for transition to bring him from defence to attack. Like he is so important to that Derry team. It's not even funny. And Conor Glass has actually improved since last year in his point taking and his kind of overall attacking game. He was kind of always kind of a sit back, will dictate defensively and get great turnovers, but he actually has a score in him as well. He's a great kicker from outside, so I'd agree that it's a very tough call. And we say sometimes, oh, they're the best. They might be the best this week. Next week they might have a bad week, and you're constantly kind of evolving your opinions. But those 2 sets of midfields now, I must say, I'd be very harsh on Derry to say that Tyrone midfield is the best in the country. Was very close.
Let's hang on this Derry-Cork game now. We haven't spoken much about Derry. They've won the Ulster final. They bet Armagh on penalties. They got through their round robin group. They're sitting in the quarterfinals. They're facing a bit of a wild card now in Cork. Have Cork got the power? Have Cork got the belief? It feels like a very different Cork team. Paddy, I'm going to come to you in a second on how they played against Dublin last year, but it feels like a very different Cork team, James, than before. Have they got enough to actually hurt Derry this Sunday?
It's very, very difficult to know how this game is going to pan out. I mean, Derry are going to go for the jugular, I reckon, early, like they did against Clare last year. They went for the net a couple of times early. Let's finish this game. I think that's what they're going to go. They're going to go hard and early for the big scores. If they can get a lead, I think they're going to be brilliant at holding on to that lead. You know, they're very tight defensively. The criticism of Derry, or where they could improve, is where they have to actually play more attacking brand of football or free-flowing brand of football, where they have to get scores regularly in Croke Park. Because they have that slow build-up, it's going to be difficult for them. But if they get a lead against Cork and they can do their slow build-up, mind the ball, torture Cork mentally really by carrying it, there's not going to be that many scores there. So I think that the start is very important for Cork. If they can keep it tight for as long as possible, make Derry come out, that's when they'll get their scores, and they can bring on maybe Hurley with that hamstring injury, and Sherlock can maybe swing over a few. But if they go behind early and Derry are managing that game, there's not enough scores in Cork, for me. That's my opinion on it.
Paddy?
Out of the 4 games, I think this is I'd be the most confident saying that Derry will win this game out of all 4 of the quarterfinals. I just think they'll mirror each other very well. Of how, like Cork are trying to play that, to try and play on the counter attack, get Matty Taylor, Sean Powder, quick transitions, and get it inside to a Sherlock or a Hurley if he's fit, to try and get a score. Derry do the same, but it's just McGuigan on the other end, and maybe Ethan Doherty chipping in. I think they'll mirror each other and how they set up with lots of bodies back, and I just think Derry are better at that than Cork. That's I don't see Cork turning around and playing a really fast kick passing game and keeping 4 or 5 forwards up. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think that the players to do that. I think they just play a very similar style. It's been effective, but I think the bottom line, I think Derry do that setup better than Cork, and I think they've better players. And that's, you can overcomplicate this as much as you want, but I think Derry's defensive system will be able to shut down the likes of Sherlock and Hurley if he's playing. Yes, the Cork have kind of had Maguire and O'Callaghan in midfield, who've been really impressive themselves as well, but they're coming up just against a better partnership for me in Glass and Rodgers. And I just think Derry are a bit more experienced at this stage. The Cork, and For me, if Cork were to win this game, and they've done incredibly well in turning their season around, and they were full value for winning that Roscommon game, and it was a massive victory for them, and there was a bit of a buzz back with Cork football, which we all agree is kind of brilliant to see. It's a crowd in Porky Queen, they get a big championship win, but I just think Derry are further along the tracks than this Cork team. Yes, the Cork press and kick-outs and Oral Lynch and things like that, that is a massive improvement from what we've seen over the last kind of 12 to 18 months from Cork. But I just think they're going to come up against the team who are further down the track than where they're at. And it's a big game for Derry as well. You remember, like, they would have felt their performances in Croke Park have been a bit underwhelming, losing really well beaten in the league final by Dublin, and then they really struggled last year's All-Ireland semi-final against Galway. I expect a big performance from Derry, and I think they just have too much for Cork. I think this will be the end of the road for John Cleary and the Cork team.
Okay. Certainly feels like a different Cork team coming in than a team came in last year, though. So last year I don't think they had the belief or they had the kind of momentum that they've got now. But I think what you've said there,
I don't think they had the structure, Tommy. They weren't going to beat Dublin in that quarter final, and that's how it played out, particularly in the second half. But there's been positive strides, of course there has. That's obvious for Cork over the last month. But I just think, it's a big ask for them to try and turn around this Derry team. They're just further down the tracks.
Yeah, it's a stupid question to ask you. Can Derry win an All-Ireland this year?
I didn't have them as top dogs on the basis that I still felt their kind of forward unit was a little bit behind the others. But look at how this championship has panned out. They have a massive chance of winning it. I'd still be surprised if Derry went all the way and won it, but they've got a chance, and purely on the basis that I think every team has flaws. And we could say, well, Derry's maybe their forward unit isn't as cohesive, isn't as slick. They've improved from where they were last season. That was an obvious area where they need to improve and build on the defensive solidity. But then there's weaknesses in Kerry defensively. There's weaknesses in Dublin with their depth of their panel, and they're kind of struggling against their attacking cohesion themselves. So all the teams you would have had maybe a little bit ahead of them, there's big flaws there as well. And that's the interesting thing over not just this weekend, but the next 3 or 4 weeks, to see who actually pulls this out of the bag, because it's there for someone. And Derry, without a doubt, like I say, I think it's a good draw for Derry. I expect them to win and get into an All-Ireland semi-final. I still don't think they'll win the whole thing though. But if they got a chance, of course they do.
Yeah. Dublin-Mayo then. We've waited long enough to get into it. Conor McKeown has written a piece in The Independent, 10 questions around Dublin-Mayo this weekend. There's some very interesting stuff in it. Did you see the bit, Paddy, on the game in 2013 where the Mayo fans tried to buy as many tickets for the Hill as possible so they could dilute a source of Dublin's strength? And it's the only game in the last decade that the Dublin footballers, before they got to Hill 16, broke away and ran back up the field. They usually do their walk around the hill, but that day they broke away. Can you remember that? Can you confirm that? What happened?
No, I was in that parade. I don't remember that. That would have been, you can read a lot of stuff at all. I wouldn't be reading too much into that.
Okay.
No, definitely didn't notice it on the day, but no, in general, for this weekend, obviously there's a massive buzz around this game because it felt like over the last decade this has been the rivalry of Gaelic football. In the previous decade it was obviously Kerry-Tyrone, but I was only chatting to someone there yesterday about this. It was like there was a semi-final in 2012. It starts, Mayo get the win. We obviously win it in 13 the final, twice in 15 the semis, twice in 16 the final, 17 final, 19 semi-final, 20 final, and then Mayo finally get to break their duck, I suppose, by winning in 21 in extra time in that famous game as well from their side. So just the sheer volume of games between Dublin and Mayo, how close they've been, the personnel involved. It's two different teams, different coaches obviously now, new management teams, and the previous championship game Mayo won that. So the element and the aura of Dublin kind of having this hex over Mayo for so long in the biggest games, that's gone now. Mayo seen to that, winning that semi-final in 21. But this game is, I'm nervous about it, I have to say. I am. It's not the best draw Dublin could have got by any means. And we said it about Tyrone, we said it about Monaghan. What about Mayo for a team of total inconsistency to lose to Cork, and then come out and knock out Galway in their own patch, one of the All-Ireland favourites, you just get the sense, I think there's a big performance in Mayo here. I really do. Like I said, they won't fear playing Dublin at Croke Park. They'll be excited by this challenge. We know their supporters will be very excited, as they always are. And I just think if Dublin get their setup wrong, this could be a bad day for Dublin. If this game descends into, like we seen in Salt Hill in the second half last week, where Mayo were playing on the counter-attack and there's wide open spaces, I think Dublin are under serious pressure then. If Mayo's running game is allowed to get going, and you get the likes of Durkin and Manny Rowan and Tommy Conroy and these guys, nearly like that extra time period in 2021 where Mayo just overran the team, and they can do that. It's how do Dublin set up? Do they get bodies behind the ball and try and frustrate Mayo, make Mayo take bad shots from around the arc, long range shooters, nearly like what Roscommon did in Castlebar, to a really, really good effect and won them that game. And then if Dublin do that and they can kind of halt Mayo's progress there, I think Dublin have the forwards to really hurt the Mayo backline. And that's what they'll try to do. And I remember playing in lots of these games against Mayo, and we'd always, we need to try and control the game. We need to try and keep the ball. We need to try and limit their momentum. And we just couldn't do it. Mayo's just, their energy, their absolute chaos they bring to the game.
Did you ever put your finger on why you couldn't do it?
No, it was a credit to Mayo. Like we wanted to do, we understood what we needed to do to try and blunt their half back line, their midfielders running from deep, but they just sheer will. They just kept going and going and going and going and going. They would generally always save one of their best performances of the season for us, which was the case. And we won the game, so we managed to get over the line in the end. But I think for this Sunday, if this game descends into ding dong up and down the pitch, I think Mayo can win it, and I think Dublin will be aware of that. They need to. We've said all along, we feel Mayo's Achilles heel is that kind of really set defence, and you need that nuance in their attack. And I still don't think they have that. And as big as a win as it was against Galway, I think Galway will be really, really disappointed how they let that second half develop. And Dublin will be aware of that. And you're just no more so than anyone else. Kerry with Dublin, you're hoping that this is the day where they bring out a big performance, because they've been a bit hit and miss themselves, a bit Jekyll and Hyde. They've won their games, which is fine.
A bit like Kerry.
Exactly like Kerry. They've kind of got the job done without really setting the world on fire, but they need to be. This is their biggest test of the season by a mile. They need to be ready for it. But by a mile, this is their biggest game. So,
yeah. Before we get back to the matchups, James, how do you see this one going?
As the week has gone on, I'm really fancying Mayo.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
The argument is there. Do you want the week's rest or do you want the game? And the fact that they beat Galway, I think, is such a boost for Mayo, such a do or die. I think the confidence they can get from that. And as well, they didn't play well. Like, they didn't play that well against Galway. So they can go into a meeting and say, lads, that was good. Let's take all the good stuff, but we need to improve this, and this, because that won't be good enough for Dublin. And if they do improve those things in a short time, I'd have them as favourites. And the way Dublin just aren't doing it for me at the moment. I don't think they're back to where they need to be, and this is going to be a huge jump in quality in their oppositions. You know, they had a handy group. Realistically, they had a handy National League, and now they're coming into the fire against Mayo, who are bouncing. And if I was a Mayo full forward line player, I'd be buzzing, because I don't think that Dublin have been tested in that area, and I think they can do damage in there. And they have so many options. I don't think Dublin even know who Mayo are going to start. So to match up is going to be difficult for Dublin. I don't think they have the markers in there. I think there's serious damage for that Mayo full forward line to do.
We know they're going to start Ryan O'Donoghue and Aidan O'Shea in that full forward line. Tommy Conroy was electric with the wind, and even against the wind he looked like he had something about him up against Jack Glynn the last day. So you'd imagine that'll be the Mayo full forward line. Paddy, how do you see those matchups working?
It's hard to know. I agree with Jimmy. It's a question mark for Dublin. You're looking for fitness, that they're full pack available. We said this, that they need Owen Merchant. Is Jack McCaffrey fit to start the game? We don't know. He got a few minutes against Sligo up in Cavan a couple of weeks ago. Darren Newcombe, who's been...
He's only played 178.
Yeah, and then that's the question. Do you go from that into a game of this magnitude and intensity. Darren Newcombe, I think, has been really solid for Dublin, but
Yeah.
this is, like I said, this is a step up from what Dublin have played. That is the reality of it. So does Mick Fitzsimons pick up Ryan Donoghue? Who do they have to mark Aidan O'Shea with his physique? If he's going to stay inside, traditionally he would have kind of been out around the middle, and you would have John Small or James McCarthy picking him up. So there are questions that Mayo will ask. Do they kind of keep Tommy Connery and Ciaran O'Connor in reserve and start James Carr again, or is that kind of, are they happy to start Conway from the get-go? He'll ask massive questions just because he's got sheer pace. There's Old Merchant is probably made for someone like him, you would imagine. But that's one side of things. But I'd be confident of the Dublin full forward line as well, asking some serious questions of the Mayo on the Mayo side of things as well. Because as much as you get the sense, I don't think Mayo are going to kind of turn around and start parking the bus here. I think there will be big opportunities, and with Con O'Callaghan, I think he's been the most consistent performer for Dublin. I expect him to have a massive game, and who do Mayo task with him? Does Paddy Durcan probably go on Kieran Kilkenny? I think the big thing for Dublin this weekend is,
I think they could put Sam Callanan on him, by the way. Like, Callanan has matched up against Shane Walsh and did really well last week, and he's also taken Shawnee O'Shea.
That's the intrigue there. Do you kind of lead Durcan to, like, Durcan's most effective play is attack, really. You know, he's so lethal coming forward from deep. But the big thing from Dublin's side of things, they need a massive performance from Fenton, Kilkenny and Con O'Callaghan. That's, the guys have kind of been, they've been grand, they've been getting the job done, and that's been enough. And I agree with Jimmy that they haven't really been tested. The Leinster Championship and the draw for the All-Ireland series was pretty favourable. This is, if Dublin are going to win this game, they need massive performances from their biggest players. That's, if they don't get that, and Fenton has a quiet game and Kilkenny has a quiet game and Mayo can kind of shackle Con O'Callaghan, that's the game right there. It's that big a responsibility on those players. And I think the role McCaffrey has is massive. That if they could get him for a full match in a game, this type of game, he could be X factor. He could be the difference. But I'm unsure about Dublin as well, because we haven't seen enough of them in this type of game. And I'm unsure about Mayo because you just never know what they're going to come out like. But generally, they save a big performance when they go up against Dublin. And that's this. As much as I'm looking forward to Kerry-Tyrone, I think this is the game of the weekend. I think this is an incredible game on Sunday.
It's going to be unbelievable. Like, of Dublin's scorers, right, and we know that they haven't faced the opposition that some of the others may have faced, because none of the teams that Dublin have played are left in the All-Ireland from Leinster or the All-Ireland round robin series. But the scores that they racked up, Conn has scored 224, Sean Bugler has kicked 112, Paul Mannion has kicked 111, Costello 13. There isn't many counties at the minute that are racking consistently up a number of scorers with big scores. Collie Basquel, Paddy, has scored 314. He's a fella in serious form. Would you start Collie this weekend?
I think you kind of have to. Yeah, that's the reality of it. That's himself and Bugler, I think, have been a big plus for Dublin over the last month. That there's a confidence in their play, and they can ask questions of that Mayo defence. Like, the thing with Mayo, you'll get opportunities up front, and it's just, have you got the guys who are clinical enough to take it? And of course, like what Basquel has done in the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's really put his hand up, and that's what Desi Farron, what Dublin were waiting on for guys. As important as it is to have Kilkenny and Conn really lead the charge, if you've 3 or 4 other guys who could clip in with 2 or 3 or 4 points from play, that is massive. We would have always felt we had that with our team. The other big question mark is Costello. You know, he's had a couple of knocks and niggles. I think he's massively important for Dublin, that he's fit and he's available to play. I don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen him enough. There's kind of a knocks and niggles. I think he could have a massive role as well, particularly talking about free taking. This game has got to be tight as well, and you're having someone like that. But like, if Dublin can get, you know, grade A performances from their marquee guys, and then you've got a Basquel coming in and carrying on his form, and Bugler, and they could clip over 5 or 6 points between them, that's massive. But as much as it's a big game for Dublin, this is a massive game for those guys as well. Like, that this is, they've been around the panel for a long time, but now they're kind of established starters in this team, and this is as big as it gets, really. You know, if you're a Dublin player, particularly over the last decade, you are measured on what you do against Mayo, what you do against Kerry, what you do against Tyrone, really. And it's great doing all the other stuff. That's important, but to sound too dramatic about it, your legacy is built on what you do at games like this. And this is an opportunity for one of those young guys to kind of go, yeah, we've been showing forward, but I'm arriving now on the real deal now. Like, I'm out and become a match winner against Mayo. That's the opportunity for these guys. And it's the same on the Mayo side. McStay is giving opportunities to younger guys, like you're saying, Sam Callan, like these guys that are getting an opportunity. This could make or break a career on Sunday for some of those guys. So it's a fascinating matchup. When the draw came out, just
it's
the reaction from everyone was just like, it's hard to beat that.
It is early in the morning here, and that is definitely James O'Donoghue logging into his other laptop. His
Doing a bit of work,
laptop.
Jimmy. Good man.
Did you hear that? This microphone is phenomenal.
Yeah, and apologies, I think my mic might be a little bit off centre today. So, lads, thanks for stopping by once more this week. 2 pods in 1 week. James, you started this episode by suggesting that there could be 4 draws. And we could be going to extra time in all 4. Then you went on to say that you feel like Kerry, Armagh and Derry are going to win. Right?
And Mayo. He's gone big on Mayo here.
And Mayo too. Are they your picks for this weekend?
Well,
Or
they're so close. They're so close to call. If there was going to be a winner,
you kind of laid it here.
You don't think the Dubs will win?
You can't call a draw, but I'm saying that that's an outside bet.
Yes, yeah.
A lucky 15, €1 lucky 15 on the draws. That was my tip, my betting tip, my footballing tip. I didn't say Kerry were going to win.
Did you not?
No, I didn't, because that is very 50-50. I would always back Kerry, but it's going to be very tough. I think Mayo will win. I think Derry will win. And I think Armagh will win. But they'll all be so close. They could easily
Genuinely
go the
think
other way
Mayo
and
will
be
beat
draws.
Dublin?
Yeah. I do. But I've been building it up all year.
Yeah,
the fact they're in Division 2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait.
They haven't been playing well.
We'll have to wait and see.
We will. We will. It'd be very interesting. And again, it'd be no surprise if Dublin went and Khan got 2 goals in the first half. Do you know? And they run out winners. But I just think there's something behind Mayo.
Who's the key player for Mayo, James, this Sunday?
I think Aidan Shea is important. And whoever does pick up Khan is going to be very, very important. You can't let him.
Be McBride, who scored the goal last weekend. And like Kevin McStay at half-time was saying, he was going at McBride, he needed to be closer to Comer. And we saw Comer get 2 balls in the first half. McBride wasn't on him, Jason Doherty was picking them up.
Yeah, see, that can't happen. Against a marquee forward, you can't just have this, I wasn't on him for this play, because you're out of the competition. That's inexperience. You cannot do that. Every play, someone has to be on Conor O'Callaghan. And do you know, in the Last Dance, there's I forget who the Bulls are playing, but it was, I forget. It was Magic, I think. And they're shouting, don't let Michael beat us. Don't let Michael beat us. Let one of the other fellas do damage. Don't let him do it. That's with Dublin. Don't let Con beat you.
Don't let the best player beat you.
Yeah, don't let Con get those couple of goal chances.
I think you're going to get big performances from Dublin's key guys. I don't think they've been at their best to date, but just, maybe this is bias, just from knowing the lads. When the pressure comes on, the guys generally deliver. And I think that is, like I said, this is as big as it's going to get. I think there's a big performance there as well. Okay.
That's it. All set up for the weekend. Best of luck to everyone.
Hang on. So, because we've obviously been very 50-50 with predictions and results. So I nailed my colours to the mast there. I didn't hear many other predictions from you.
I told you, I'm never doing any more predictions ever again. The only thing I get right is the Tailteann Cup.
You're saying Dublin. Are you saying you kind of lean towards Armagh as well?
I think the semi-finalists.
And you definitely said Derry.
I think Kerry will have enough. I think Armagh will win. I think Derry will win. And I think Dublin will win.
Okay. Yeah. Tommy.
Brave boys. I think we're going to leave episode 27.
Snake. Tommy, come
on. I'm usually one to go for an underdog.
So Cork.
Who's the biggest upset? Who would be the biggest upset? Cork beating Derry. Would that be the biggest upset of the weekend? or Tyrone beating Kerry?
Oh,
Would
jeez.
Mon-
I don't
would
think
Monaghan
Tyrone beating
and-
Kerry would be an upset, though, would it?
Would Monaghan in an All-Ireland semi-final be the upset of the week?
Not because
probably Cork
they're
come
kind of
from
even
nowhere.
with Armagh.
Cork come from nowhere.
beating
Yeah.
Derry would be the
Yeah.
biggest. But you
Yeah.
like, geez, they are tight, lads.
I just think Derry. I maybe have slept on Derry a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Derry are motoring well.
Who's going to win the Dublin-Mayo?
Cork.
Come on,
Cork
spit it out.
Christian.
Who are you thinking?
I was at the Mayo game last week and I saw them. I saw where they were at.
Oh, here we go.
They
I'm
were
gonna say
poor
Dublin.
against Galway.
was
They
a
were
poor
poor against
game.
Galway. Like, but the
No,
standard of
the
that
focus
game,
or the
the standard
energy.
of that game was very bad.
But the
And you would
energy,
put it down
the
to the win, maybe.
application. Yeah, the win changed everything. Dublin was nearly out of my mouth there, but it's so hard to call. It's so hard to call.
The draw.
think
You have
It
to
could
go
be
for the draw.
Dublin-Mayo of
No,
all
I
teams.
think-
Yeah, it could be a draw. Like.
Okay, I'd say Dublin-Mayo is the one that's going to go to extra time. I think
Heads.
Kerry are going to have enough for Tyrone. I think Tyrone are going to cause some trouble, but they're going to be carried over the line, Kerry, by a fit David Clifford. And I think Rian O'Neill is going to stand up and get Armagh over the line. And Derry-Cork could be carnage, but I think Derry will get the job done. So I'm going to go Mayo after extra time again. No, I'm going to go Dublin. I'm going to go Dublin. Conor O'Callaghan's going to do it.
That's what you want to see, though, lads, isn't it? In all four of the games, the biggest players
Yeah.
in Croke Park standing up and delivering the biggest performances. That's what it's going to take to win these games. This is the business end. There's no messing now. The shadow boxing after 6 months is finally finished. we're gonna see some
Let's,
big stuff on Saturday and Sunday.
Let's leave it there, boys. Thanks a million for hopping on again, and we will catch up Monday after an absolutely unbelievable weekend of Gaelic football, I'm sure.
See you later, man.
Fair play, boys. See you later.